Have you ever looked at one of your ancestors' records multiple times only to realize, you missed something in the beginning? I know I have. So in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how I work my way through an ancestor's document to get all of the valuable clues the first time around. Hey there, if we haven't met before, I'm Lisa with Are You My Cousin? And this YouTube channel is designed to help you find your ancestors, grow that family tree, but not be overwhelmed in the process. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, you're in the right place. Now, I want to thank Archives.com for sponsoring today's video. So whether you are a beginner or a seasoned researcher, Archives.com offers everything that you need to get started on your genealogy journey. They focus on providing a diverse range of census, vital, immigration, and even military records. And really, they serve as more than just a database, but as a partner in your search for your ancestors. Users can seamlessly attach records to the Family Tree Builder and unearth new details about their ancestors they never knew before. With users of all skill levels in mind, Archives.com offers affordability to everyone. Concerned about overlap with Ancestry? Archives.com offers a focused collection at a lower price point, with many users discovering records not found elsewhere. If you're ready to dig a little deeper into your family tree but need a few tips, you'll want to check out their help page and expert advice on specific record collections that they have. So get ready and start your journey with Archives.com today to uncover the stories that connect to your past. I'll have a link for them in the description below. One of the things that I'm frequently asked when I work with individuals on a VIP day or a genealogy audit is really, how do I analyze an ancestor's record when I'm starting out? What is it I'm looking for, and how do I find all the clues that are relevant to my research now and could be relevant to my research in the future? I'm going to be sharing some examples with you, but before I turn my camera around and share you some examples of exactly how I do that, I do want to start with a little bit of the basics and the foundation as a review. So if you're new to genealogy research, this is a great place to start. If you have been researching for a while, it never hurts to review the basics once again. So when it comes to researching and finding a record for my ancestor, I'm really looking for 5 different things in that record when I'm starting out. So I have 5 basic foundational concepts that I keep in mind. First off, I want to know, what is that record type that I'm looking at? Is it an original record? So if I'm looking at a will, is it the original will? Is it a copy? Is it a transcript? Or is it an abstract of that will? So it's very important to know what type of record that you are actually looking at. The next thing that I really want to know about that record before I start actually getting into the meat of it is understanding why that record actually exists. What is the purpose for that record? What is the purpose for a will? It is for the deceased to be able to determine what happens to their estate, right? So I want to understand why a document was created and who created it. The third thing that I'm looking for as I work through a document is the names of all of the individuals that are mentioned, not just the primary names of my ancestors that I'm researching. I want to look and find all of the names and all of the individuals mentioned in a document. Number 4, I am making sure that I gather all of the dates that are mentioned, making sure I understand the timeline of when the document was created and the progression of that particular document. So I'm gathering all of the dates, any and all dates that are mentioned in that particular document. And of course, the 5th thing would be the places, the location. I want to make sure I understand the location and the time period for when that particular document was created, as well as any specific locations mentioned within the document that would then help me further my research. Just to review here, I'm looking at why that document was created. I want to know all the individuals that are named in that document. I want to know the type of record, what type of record that I'm looking at. I want to find all of the dates, and I want to make sure I'm getting all of the places in that document. Now let's turn the camera around. I'm going to show you a couple different types of records and how I walk through the particular pieces of those records. Okay, so for this first record, I am over here in Archives.com, and I'm actually looking at a kind of an unusual record that we might not have seen before or see very often. That's actually funeral home records. They have some from the San Francisco, California area. When starting to evaluate this particular record, and I would do this regardless of type of record or size or length of record, I'm looking, obviously, what is the record? It is a funeral home record. It is the transaction for the funeral for this particular gentleman, in this case, George W. Singley. So I'm going to start, the primary person, it is for George W. Singley. And then I'm going to actually proceed line by line. This is a fairly short record, so I can do this usually in one pass. Sometimes I'll take 2 passes through a record. If it's a little bit longer, it needs a deeper look. But in this case, it's a shorter record. I can actually work my way through it fairly easily, going line by line. So first line, okay, George W. Singley. So it's his funeral. Charged to. So let me enlarge this just a little bit so you can see this a little bit easier. Here we go. It says charged to, and it gives the name of F, is that P maybe, Blackburn. Okay, so that's something that I would make note of. I don't know who that is, but perhaps I can find that out, and it will be important to my research later on. The date of death, so we have George's date of death, which is April 19th, 1912. The place of death, it says, to be honest, I'm having a hard time reading this one, but it was in a hospital, so it's a local hospital. I might have to check out the city directories to determine if I can find a hospital that looks similar to that name. Maybe a Herman might be the name of this hospital. It's a little hard to read. He was 51 years, 9 months, and 12 days, so a little bit of math can give me a birth date on this particular gentleman, so I've got my date there. And he's an occupation. He was a ticket agent at California New Railroad, and they're in San Francisco, and he was born in California. So before I even go through the rest of this document, I have found 2 names. George Singley, the primary person. I found the person who is paying for the funeral, so this would be somebody likely known, likely a relative, but perhaps a close associate. I have his date of death. I have his place of death, so we know he died in a hospital. We know how old he was down to the day, so we can do our math to get the birth date on him, and I know what his occupation was and where he was born. From this alone, I would be able to create a research plan that would to look for birth records or with his birth date in California. Perhaps I'd be able to find railroad records based on his occupation as a ticket agent. I would want to add to my research list as well, who is the gentleman who is paying for the funeral, because again, like I said, he would have had some type of relationship, be it a family or a working relationship with him. Then working my way down the document, this is really kind of the bill of sale, so to speak, for this. And so I would look, there's not a lot here that, while interesting from a social history standpoint, doesn't really pertain to my research, but I am going to read it just to make sure and checking and seeing what was involved here. So this was a pretty minimal one. Now, this is where sometimes people make a mistake, and I want to caution you not to do this. Always check for a second page to a record. All right, in this case, if I click forward, I find the back. So it turns over, I find the second page or the back page of this particular record. This is still George's record, guys. And so we want to make sure we're not missing important information because we simply did not turn the page. So don't make that mistake. I have made it and cost myself some research time and had to go back and find records. It gives us the cause of death. So he was a diabetic coma. He had a cirrhosis of the liver, diabetes, and nephritis. So fortunately, not a very healthy gentleman. It gives us the physician's name. I make note of the physician's name, but this is typically not going to be relevant to my research going forward. But if we hadn't turned the page, we might miss out on the fact that we have the cemetery where he was buried, which is Petaluma, and when he was buried. So this was important to be able to turn that page because we would have missed an actual burial place. So this was an important thing to do to make sure that we're finding there. And then I'm going to scroll on down and there's nothing else to this record. So you can see this was a very short record. Didn't take very long to go with, but we now have a research plan going forward. Now, if you enjoy learning how to find your ancestors and build out your family tree, be sure and hit that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner, and that way you'll be notified when I post brand new videos here on the Are You My Cousin YouTube channel each week. Now, the next example I want to share with you is an 1808 deed from Wake County, North Carolina. It's for my ancestor, James Harwood. And what I would do, this is one of the earliest records that I actually found in some of my early genealogy research. And so it was one of my favorite because this is one of the ones I learned on. And to be honest, I made a lot of mistakes. So as we can see, it starts kind of at the bottom part of one page and continues on to the next page. So not a tremendously long deed, but an important deed nonetheless. Remembering the basics, what is it I have? I have a will. I have the original will. It is a copy from the microfilm that I converted to a PDF. So it is an original will that I'm looking at. So I'm looking at original handwriting and that type of thing. I'm also making note as I start to read through it. I do a first pass sometimes when I have a record like this. It's a little bit harder to read, and I'm going to make a transcription of it. So I will transcribe this record, because it's very important when we're working through our ancestors' records that we not only understand what that record is and who is involved in this record and who is named in this record, but we want to make sure that we understand every single word that is written. We want to make sure that we can decipher it to the best of our ability, and we want to make sure we understand the meaning of those words and phrases. Because if we are not able to transcribe correctly, it can lead to errors in our understanding of that record. So my first pass for a deed like this would be to read it and transcribe the record. And then I would go back through it again and start picking it apart a little more closely. So when I'm looking at this deed, what I'm seeing here is we have the heirs of William Harwood Sr. deceased. So it tells me that by the writing of this deed that William Harwood is deceased. So from a research plan, I can look for a death date prior to the writing of this the writing of this deed, which was actually March of 1805. All right, so he has deceased. Then he's naming out the heirs. The heirs are named out: John Harwood, Daniel Hobson, Findle Beasley, Martin Harwood, Barbie Sears, and William Harwood Jr. That tells me that these are all his heirs. The Harwood men, those are obviously his sons, but what about these other men who have different surnames? Well, I would add those names to my research plan with the working theory that these are the sons-in-laws. In other words, these are the husbands or the spouses of William Harwood's daughters, based on the time period that this was written. And then it goes on to mention James Harwood. So he's buying the land from the rest of the heirs. He was likely going to be a son as well. Now, I'm also making sure I understand the locations. Of course, it has already mentioned that this land is actually in Wake County, North Carolina. Each of these men is either from Wake County or Chatham County, North Carolina. So those are bordering counties. That tells me this property is likely somewhere along the county line or close to where those two counties come together. Next up, I'm going to be looking at that location of this property, because location is important to our genealogy research and putting our ancestors in a certain place and finding out who is around them. And of course, understanding the location of where our ancestors live is important and relevant to our research, and certainly the deeds are a great way to pinpoint where they lived and where they worked. Now, when I'm reading through a description of land or property, what I am looking for are things that are going to help me pinpoint that location. In this case, as I read through the description, I find that it is on the north side of Panther Creek. That is an actual landmark that still exists today that helps me to narrow down the location of this land significantly. I continue to read through. It does mention a neighbor who in this case is actually John Harwood. So it talks about John Harwood's line. This is a neighbor that is being mentioned. He was also one of the heirs, as we noted up top. So that gives me another piece of the puzzle. I could potentially find his deed to find more information on this family. And so I would continue to read down. There actually wasn't, for this particular piece of land, those were the only two pieces of the description that were actually useful and helpful to me in this case. So I know that it's north side of Panther Creek, and I know that it borders the property of John Harwood. So those are two pieces that I can add to my research plan to research further out in the future if I wish. And as I continue to read, at the end of this particular document, it is more legal language that is asserting the sale of this land from the heirs to James Harwood. Now, an important piece that you might overlook down here would be actually this section right here. These are signatures of all of the individuals who were involved in this deed. And so we have Barbie Sears and William Harwood. This would be William Harwood Jr., Martin Harwood, John Harwood, Findle Beasley, Daniel Hobson. So we have these signatures here. And one of the things that we want to make note of is that they actually used their mark. This is important to know because marks actually can be just as distinctive as handwriting. So I want to make note of that. So if I need to use these for comparison in future documents, I can absolutely do that as well. I note these names here, but I also want to make sure that I'm noticing these names are right over here to the left, okay? Signed and sealed in the presence of Goen Barbie and Wyatt Harwood. Now this is important, guys. These are the witnesses. And why are they important? Because oftentimes they were somebody who had some association with the family. Frequently, they were family members. And in this case, absolutely, these two turn out to be family members. Now, they could be perhaps associates or neighbors, but the witnesses typically had some association to the person mentioned in the document. So you want to make sure that you are making note. You may use these names later on. You may see them pop up later on in your research, or you may not need to use these later on, but it is important to make note of them so that you have them and can use them in the future. And then coming on down, remember we talked about the dates. So dates are important. Again, the actual date, if you remember from the beginning of this document, was actually written in March of 1805, but it wasn't actually executed. This deed was not executed until the May term of the court in 1808. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful to peek over my shoulder and get my thoughts on how I work through an Ancestors document. If you'd like to learn more about getting the most out of your genealogy records for your research, be sure and watch the video on your screen now, Back to the Basics, How to Use Census Records Like a Pro.